did develop, I had already had a sense that I wanted to be involved in public service, and I wanted to be involved in international development and economic development. I wasn't sure what that was exactly going to be. Interestingly, some of this was affected when I was in Stanford government, and I had gone back to Washington to help. We pulled together resumes for a large number of students, and we were taking those to different offices. And I'd been in the State Department, and at that point, USAID used to be, the Agency for National Development used to be physically inside the State Department. And I saw the sign that said Agency for National Development. I said, that's the right title. And so it was one of those things that was almost just kind of a visceral reaction of something that I wanted to do and go back toward. And I decided to go to the Kennedy School because of this point that we were talking about before, of a desire or a sense that what got me excited was to work on policy changes that can somehow have more of a systemic impact, that it wasn't just looking at a case-by-case change, but that you can think through how does an issue play out in a wider political or economic system, and how can one relate to that and have an impact on it in a more positive way. And what I found in my career was that a lot of things didn't necessarily develop as I might have thought or planned, and I think I can honestly say that at any given 5-year period, I could not have guessed where I would have been at the following 5-year period. The first day I showed up at the Agency for International Development, which I ended up eventually going and working for after I graduated from the Kennedy School. And I had spent most of my time working on economic development and Latin America issues, and spoke Spanish. And I came in, and there was a sign that said AFR, and I asked, what does that mean? And it means you're assigned to the Africa Bureau. I was like, there must be a mistake. I've never worked on Africa, but in the end, it was great for me, and it led to what became a transformative experience in my life, which was in the mid-1980s, having an opportunity to work on setting up some of the first programs focused on supporting organizations that were promoting peaceful change in South Africa against apartheid. And it was a very difficult period when the government was really clamping down on these organizations, and to have an opportunity to somehow be able to support them and help them during that period was phenomenally rewarding. But just one final thing I'll share with you on that was sort of a lesson that came to teach me, which was the question of to ask yourself at times the question, how would I feel if I didn't take a particular opportunity 10 years from now, and I were looking back on it? And that became relatively simple and straightforward in the South Africa question. The interesting thing was that my colleagues and bosses in the Agency for International Development told me, don't do that, because it is so atraditional in the economic development field, and they said it'll destroy your career and you shouldn't do it, and you should go on to a traditional developing country. And the counter-argument was obviously, if 10 years later you had asked yourself the question, I passed up the opportunity to somehow support the process of peaceful change in South Africa, could you live with yourself with that? And of course the answer is no. And so I think one of the things for me was to be willing to take those risks, to not necessarily do the things that are obvious in one's career, but to be willing to go down some of those paths that are going to pull you, that are going to stretch you, and going to make you think differently and give you different opportunities. I think if you allow yourself to be open to that, it's going to end up putting you in situations that